Hey guys, how's it going? So today my goal is to get all of our potatoes planted. Yesterday we got them all cut. They've been drying for about 24 hours, so I think they're ready to go. We have 10 different varieties this year. And here they are. We've got Kennebec, Red Lesotho, Purple Majesty, Purple Viking, Red Norland. Over here we have Yukon Gold, Huckleberry Gold, Red Pontiac, Russet Burbank, German Butterball. I only had about 5 varieties to start out with, and then after I got done cutting them, I realized that I hadn't picked up near enough potatoes. So I went back down to the garden center and they had a whole bunch of other varieties that I thought would be fun to try. So that's how we ended up with 10 different varieties. My favorites out of all of these are the Huckleberry Gold and the German Butterball. There are 2 varieties that I always try to grow every single year. We're gonna be growing a whole bunch of these out here in the cut flower garden, and then one of our 3x6 raised beds up in our raised bed garden. Also, I don't know where he went, but Eddie is working on the gable today on the cut flower shed. So you'll probably see him in and out working on things. This is where the potatoes are going this year. You can see that we've already tilled just one spot down this way. I think we got about 10 inches deep, which is perfect. But I am going to retool the water before we do anything else. I decided I wanted to plant them differently. So what I'm gonna do is cut this 1/2-inch supply line. So this is what it is here, 1/2-inch Centennial drip tubing. We'll cut here and then on the other side of the drip tape there and just couple in a new piece of 1/2-inch. And then I'm gonna run the drip tape a little bit closer together. And I want to use this as like a really, I guess, wide and thickly planted row of potatoes. Instead of having a walking path in between, I'd like them to all be together. And I'm going to attempt 4 rows of potatoes in this area. The nice part about this right here, we've kind of figured this out, we do put stakes in the ground because with all the water moving through, you know, every time you turn on the system, it kind of shakes the tubing, and if you don't have anything in place, it can actually pull the tubing and get it all kind of messed up. So you can see all of the wood stakes here that we use to kind of help keep things in place. But then each one of the rows of drip tape has an on-off valve. So if I feel like something's getting too much water, we can control that a little bit better while still allowing the water to run in the rest of the area. It's much more efficient and much less, like we use much less water when we can control it like that. And we've got the drip tape that has the emitter holes every 6 inches. And you put the holes facing up when you use drip tape, which seems counterintuitive, but it's the way you're supposed to do it, because if you have the drip tape turned upside down, sediment can actually settle at the bottom of the tape and plug the holes. So we keep those at the top and the water just comes out and kind of weeps over the sides. I wanted to go over some quick basic potato planting information. First of all, potatoes average about 3 to 4 pounds of potatoes per plant. I mean, it can be a little bit less, a little bit more, kind of depends on what variety. Some are a little bit more productive than others. Some produce larger potatoes than others. I mean, I can get a potato occasionally from a plant that's over a pound by itself. So it just kind of depends a little bit on that and what your soil's like, if they like your area, so on and so forth. And you can see here that we cut a lot of our potatoes and I didn't cut others. So usually if a potato is really small or just has a few eyes, so this is what an eye is right here. Those are the growth points of the potato. You plant them with the eyes facing up. But if you've got a potato, like let's say this one, I don't think this one went with this one, but it doesn't matter. You get the idea. So if this one was one potato, you can see that this side has 2 eyes. You want to make sure you at least have 2 really strong eyes per section. And then this one right here has an eye here and an eye over here. So sometimes I find it's not necessary to cut these. Like I probably could have divided this one, but all the eyes were pretty close together on one end of the potato. Same with like this one right here. So it's kind of a bigger potato and longer, but all the eyes, like the good ones, are all toward the top. So I'm just gonna leave this one whole. And then for anything that's, you know, just smaller, like little small potatoes like this, I just leave them whole. I find that they do a little bit better that way. But that cut end has dried overnight. It's been 24 hours at this point and they're feeling really good. I mean, they still feel cool, but I'm not feeling like any moisture or anything from them. The planting part is really easy. So we're gonna plant them about 4 to 6 inches deep, every 12 inches or so apart. You can go 15 inches if you want, give the plants a little bit more space. You can even go a little bit closer. I usually do in a raised bed situation. I go maybe 8 inches or a little bit more apart. and have had good results with that. So that's just up to you and your space and area. It is a good idea though to work the soil. Because these are forming tubers underneath the ground, it's nice when they can have elbow room to do that. They will be able to form up easier when they don't have to struggle. That will all depend on your soil type. If you already have nice, loose, easy soil to work in, perfect. In our case out here, we have hard pan. Last year I used an auger and I dug holes every 12 or so inches and just popped the potatoes down in the hole. They did pretty good because once you start irrigating, it does soften the soil a bit, but I think they would have done better had I worked the area all the way around the plant instead of just the hole I planted the potato in. So that's why we decided to take the tractor through just one pass and till up that area so that it was nice soil for them to grow in. And again, whether or not your potatoes cut, you plant them with the eyes facing up. So like this one, this side will be facing up. For this cut one right here, eyes will face up, the cut part will face down. That's how you do it. Let's go over these varieties just really quick. I do use large tags out here in the cut flower garden so they don't get lost. I also wrote the day to maturity on the back of each one of these. So this is what they are, the Rapid Clip, large T labels, 13-inch, and then I use a garden marker. These do not wear off like other markers do. So Red Norlands here, which we have 34 of. 34 pieces and or whole potatoes, but they are a 75-day, so early maturing, red skin, white flesh. They're a really tasty potato. I've grown this one several times. Purple Viking right here has purple skin, which I didn't, maybe we can throw a picture of a clean potato up on the screen. I didn't wash any of these, but they have purple skin and white flesh, really smooth, 60 to 80 day on this one. These are supposedly a superior potato to many. They're multi-purpose. You can use them for all kinds of different things. I've grown them one time, but it's been a while. I don't remember how they tasted. Purple Majesty is a new one to me, 85 to 90 day on that one. This one, I cut this yesterday so we could see. Let me recut it. See out in the light. There we go. You can see the purple interior of that one. Anyway, supposedly these have some really good health benefits to them. I don't know if it's the coloring that's in them or what makes them colored the way they are. That makes them extra healthy, but they say they're really good for baking and mashed potatoes. I can't imagine purple mashed potatoes, but I think they would be fun to roast most of all. We've got red Lesotas, which if you are a southern gardener, these are, I think they were developed in Florida. They're really good for southern climates, 81 to 115 day. Red skin, they're kind of waxy like a Pontiac. And they have white flesh that's real smooth. Kennebec is a new one to me. I've never grown it, but we've sold it down at the garden center for a lot of years, 80 to 100 day. They say that this one is really good for frying because the flesh, I hate that word, but that's what it is. The flesh browns up very evenly when frying, so they're kind of like a pleasing potato to, I guess, present. They look really good and they take on a real sweet nutty flavor. So I'm excited about that. And then over here, the Huckleberry Golds. Love this potato. 90 to 100 day. They typically, for me, they size up the best, like the most consistently. They have purple skin. See that? Purple skin with a light yellow interior. Really smooth, really buttery, yum. These are so good. Red Pontiacs are like your classic, you know, you can get these at the grocery store all the time. Red skin, white flesh, they're kind of waxy. They store fairly well. However, my, my Yukons actually stored better than my Pontiacs this last year, and Huckleberry Gold store the best out of everything so far. Russet Burbanks here, your classic Idaho potato. 120 day, these have kind of like that net skin right there, white flesh, brown outsides. German Butterball is another fave of mine. 100 to 120 day. These have, I know you can't tell right now, but they have such a lemony yellow interior color. They're just a really beautiful potato and really smooth and tasty. And then of course Yukon Golds, which are another classic. I love to use these in all kinds of different dishes. So out here, we're gonna be planting 4 rows that are 60 feet long, which means if we go every foot, we'll have 240 potato plants out here, which let's say that they do produce at the top end, 4 pounds per plant. That's 960 pounds of potatoes. Isn't that awesome? I plan on saving some in our root cellar, but I'm gonna be giving away a lot of these potatoes as well. So all that said, let's go fix the water. I'm going to retool where the drip lines are, and then we're just gonna get them planted. Okay, so I've got the water rerouted here. You can see where I cut the 1/2 inch and used a straight coupler and put a new piece on, and then did the same thing right here so that I could space these pieces of drip tape or these runs of drip tape equally, sort of. They're pretty close. They're about 18 inches or so apart from one another. And then I went ahead and put some biotone starter fertilizer on top of the soil, which will just kind of naturally mix in when I plant these. And then I spaced these out every 12 inches, which is really easy since we have emitter holes every 6 inches. I can just put one right by an emitter hole. And what I'm gonna do, since the soil's so soft, I can just plant these by hand. So this potato right here, dig down 4 to 6 inches, set it to the side of the drip tape, and then just cover it back over. And that is it. And then for the potatoes that have cut sides like this, same thing. We'll dig down 4 to 6 inches. We'll face the eyes up, which there's an eye here and an eye here, cut side down, just like this. And now I need to do that for the remainder of all of these potatoes. Now I was able to fit everything except for a handful of red Lesotas and the red Norlands, which is perfect because the Norlands are the shortest day potato. We can put those up in the raised bed. That way we can get that potato crop through, grown, harvested, and then we'll have time to grow something else in that raised bed. Done out here in the cut flower garden anyway, so we're gonna head up to the raised bed garden in a second, but I just want to walk you through what ended up where. I did water them in lightly. We're gonna get rain tonight, so I wasn't worried about a deep water, but what I did was I started a variety here, so like German Butterball, and I planted that variety in both the rows on the right hand side because I could reach them. So like on this side we've got German Butterball in the first 2 rows of drip tape, and then we have red Lesotas, then we have red Pontiacs, big section of those, and then Yukon Golds right here, then Kennebec right here, and then this one, oh, faced the tag the wrong way, Purple Majesty. I had a little bit left over from this row that I just swung over here. And then on this side we have Russet Burbanks, Huckleberry Golds, which we have the largest section of, I think, then Purple Vikings, and then the beginning of the Purple Majesties right down here. And you'll also notice during the prep process when I was putting biotone in the soil, you might have noticed I did not add any compost, any land and sea like I normally do. We were really good about putting leaves in this area and grass clippings, which were tilled into this area. And I just want to see how the plants react to that. It might be as these plants grow, I'll put some compost over the top, but you know, for now you can kind of see some of the stuff that was in this area. And we're going to be trying to do that more and more, just adding organic material in and just working it into the soil. Okay, now we can head up to the raised bed garden. All right, got a lot of things going on, but we have 2 empty beds, that 3x6 and that 3x4 actually. But we're going to be planting in this one right here. I'm going to go about this a little bit differently because when you're dealing with raised beds, you're dealing with pretty loose soil, fairly loose soil anyway, to begin with. So I'm going to top this with biotone starter fertilizer and land and sea, and then I'm going to use my auger in here just to individually make our holes, and I'm going to do 3 rows, 1 right in the center and then 2 flanking it. I'm going to have to run drip too. In fact, I need to run drip to this bed and this bed as well. I re-ran drip to all the rest of the beds in this garden earlier on when I planted spring crops, but I left these 3 beds empty, or not empty, but well, I guess empty of drip tubes, because there was sediment in our lines that had kind of clogged the filters. So I wanted to wait till the system was on and running so I could flush out the lines before I put new drip on and got those all clogged up. And then I proceeded to forget that I didn't have drip in here in these beds. So the seeds that I planted are a little so-so on the germination. Like this bed, we're doing okay. I mean, we've got kohlrabi and some cauliflower over there. And then the chard is coming up okay, but the turnips, like this, was pretty dry. Ooh. And then I planted leeks in this bed, which I think they all survived it. They survived me for the most part. They're little itty bitty, but it's pretty amazing how resilient plants are. This happened to my onions last year and all of them came back and grew beautifully. Yeah, and I think this will be perfect for the Norlands. Okay, that is done. So we have fresh drip and everything. Every bed should be functioning properly at this point. So right here we have the leek bed, potatoes are set, and then this L-shaped bed is all set up as well. And what we do, we have an individual faucet. I need to turn them on too, if that would be helpful. We had an individual faucet brought up in each one of these beds because we had this whole area torn up at the time we put the garden in, and we knew exactly where the beds were gonna go. So we just decided to take it that route. So what we end up doing for drip is we have our faucet, and then we have a 3/4 inch to 1/4 inch adapter right here. So we can just push that, and this has a filter in it. And all of the pressure regulators originate at the beginning of our irrigation system of this zone rather than right here at the faucet. So we do 1/4 inch right into the adapter, and then we run it. Now this bed, I run it quite far, and sometimes it doesn't function properly because it's 1/4 inch. You're not supposed to run it like more than maybe 25 feet, and I've definitely run it more than that in here. So I just try to keep my eye on these beds, make sure that the water is working properly throughout the season. I mean, I'm out here all the time anyway, checking on things, harvesting, weeding, and all of that business. I could put a splitter probably at this faucet and run 2 different lines or runs, I guess, of drip, and that would work out as well. That's something I might do in the future. And that is gonna be it for today's video. Super happy to have the potatoes in the ground. I do have a little bit of the red Norland variety and a handful of the red Lesotho variety left. Didn't have quite enough room, so I'm gonna find somebody to give those to because they're cut and prepped and ready to go, and they'd be easy to tuck into a planter somewhere. In fact, we may even, if I'm unable to find them a home, I'm usually able to find homes, but if I'm not, maybe we'll just tuck them into a tub, a galvanized tub somewhere, because they usually grow really well in that situation too, as long as you have full sun and consistent moisture. In terms of aftercare on those potatoes, we won't have to water a ton. We're getting a lot of rain these days, which is so awesome. So we just eyeball things and give them water as needed. And then, you know, as it warms up, we'll start watering more consistently, but with that drip tape and the drip tubing, it's super efficient. And we've got it targeted right to the root zone. Now, the most important thing, you'll start seeing green, you know, stuff coming out of the ground. They'll grow up to nice, beautiful plants. And when they start to bloom, that's usually when they're starting to form tubers, and the tubers are starting to size up really well. And so you want to make sure that they're getting consistent water at that time. So that's a really pivotal moment. And then once the plant starts to yellow and kind of brown and die back a little bit, it's kind of like garlic, and in that way, that's kind of the indication that the plant's getting ready to be done, and it's going to be harvest time. A lot of times though, early on in the season, you can reach under the plant carefully and harvest out what are called new potatoes. You can harvest those out, just young, really tender potatoes, and eat those and let the plant form up the rest of the tubers that it has attached to it. So anyway, there will be follow-up videos later on. We usually do a big harvest video when we get ready to dig everything. That will be an exciting day. That will be a big job. I'm not sure I've ever planted this many potatoes before. I'm just hoping for big yields and we can give a lot away. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.